Hi YouTube, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can visit me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. Okay, so we just finished, we're still working on this Gerber multiplier. We are rehabbing it, / cleaning it up, / giving it some love, whatever you want to call it. Well, we are getting it ready to put into my hunting pack. Well, not this one. This one's the one that goes in my work bibs. This one right here is the one that's going to be going into my hunting pack. First video ever in the whole thing was I did a review on how great these little tools are. How I've had, I think this one, since I was a kid in high school, and that was over 20 years ago. And these things, they just work. I mean, it's hard to say much better about something than the fact that it just works. I mean, it works when you're in the shop and it's nice and dry and it's warm and you got plenty of light and everything. It works great when you're crawled up underneath a mobile home when it's 10 degrees below zero and you've got to cut some wire to be able to get to a water leak that's up in the underbelly of a mobile home, and you done crawled in 30 foot through a small hole in the skirting. There's water all over the place. You're in your Carhartts. It's freaking cold. It's dark. You can't feel your fingertips, and yet you still got to work. That thing right there will be with you the entire time, and it will work absolutely every bit as hard as you will, and it'll be just as dependable as you are. This one's been there with me I don't know how many times. So what we are going to do next, we did the review on the thing. We sharpened up the wire cutters. The last video, what we did was we cleaned up, I guess you could call it sharpen, or reshape the Phillips head screwdriver on this one. Actually, we left that a little bit of a point, so let's knock some of that off. That looks better. To where it's going to serve us for another, year or two or however long until we need to reshape it and sharpen it again. So now what we've got left to do is we've got the clean edge blade. We need to take a look at it. We've got the serrated blade. We need to take a look at it and clean it up. We've got the file. We've got to clean it up and take a look at it. And then we need to go ahead and give the thing, I don't think I'm going to do a video on washing the thing. And really just put a couple of drops of oil in there and call it good. You can go ahead and go to work. My boy Vance, he just walked in. He's working on that Volkswagen engine of his. So anyway, so this is going to be a real quick and dirty video. We will go ahead and sharpen up the clean edge blade. If it goes fast enough, which it might, we'll go ahead and take a look at the serrated blade. And if not, we will do that in another video. So since we got the scope out, let's take a look at it in scope. I think we're backed out as far as we can get. Alright, so look at that. This sure looks to me to be the factory edge on this knife. It sure is. Now the way you can tell a factory edge versus a hand sharpened edge, let's spin this around so it can get in the light a little bit better. Okay, so factories, unlike custom knife makers or anybody like that, they can afford to put a whole lot of time and energy and materials into sharpening these things. So they put on, basic workable edges. Now, if you look at the grind marks on this edge, you can see how all these grind marks are going in one direction, and they're going 90 degrees to the edge itself, right? Okay. And you can also see that parts of it are still kind of sharp. Now, it was probably used to cut a piece of wire, or maybe hit a staple in a box, or something like that, because we've got OK chip or divot. Is that a chip or a divot? Let's see. If it's a chip, it'll be clean on both sides. If it's a divot, we'll see it push to one side. Aha. So that is neither, well, it's not a chip and it's not a roll. What happened is, let's see if I can get it to kind of stand up by itself. There we go. And focus the last little bit. Maybe even come in some. Okay, so this is what we call a smash, all right? If it was chipped out, there'd be a piece missing and you would see the grain structure inside, inside the edge. Okay. If it was rolled, it would be pushed to one side or the other. This right here is what we call a smash. And the reason we call it that is because I just came up with it. Or an impaction, okay? So that edge has been pushed back into the body of the blade. All right. This only happens with fairly soft steels, or steel that's been pushed past its physical limits. All right. And that's with soft steel like this, that's fairly easy to do. So now what we need to do, we see the edge. You can kind of see this flat along the top. And that kind of tells you how sharp it is, which is not very here. It's actually come up to an edge right here that's got some little micro divots and stuff in it, or maybe even little serrations from the factory edge. Other than that, it kind of looks, it's really not in bad shape. So, and here's another thing, okay? So when you're talking about damage, you got to kind of keep it in perspective, okay? So this is under, magnification. I'm not sure exactly what magnification that we're under, but that's in real life. That is underneath the microscope, okay? So what we're looking at there is probably, that much maybe. See if you can see my fat fingers up underneath there. Oh, we'll just use a point of a pencil. Okay, so that's that's half of the width of a dull pencil. Okay, and also bear in mind, this is a rough use for this category of knife. Okay, that knife I will not shave my face with. All right, I will not be, I guess I might open mail with it. But honestly, usually I just use, my regular pocket knife to open mail. So this knife right here, what I use that knife for is pretty much anything where I need a sharp edge that might damage one of my good knives. Okay, so that includes scraping gaskets. It includes, opening up a box that might have a lot of staples in it. This gets used for nasty work. All right, so really, as long as it can do that kind of nasty work, that's all we want it to do. All right. So what we're going to do is we are going to try to maintain the factory angle or thereabouts. And we honestly are not going to spend very much time on this edge at all. 2, 3, maybe 4 minutes tops. So what we'll do is we will go ahead and we are going to magic mark up the edge, and you can really feel those impactions through the felt tip of the pen. They're really catching it. And honestly, the edge that's on there, it would not hurt my feelings a bit to carry it just like that, because that would cut rope. It wouldn't cut it very efficiently, but it would cut it. It would scrape gaskets, with the best of them. There it is right there. For this class of knife, that's an okay edge. So, I don't even think we're going to go with the coarse side. Let's go straight to the fine side. We're going to put a little bit of oil on here. And on this one, I don't believe we are going to bring it to a burr. I know you guys are like, wait a minute, Joe always brings everything to a burr. Well, not this time. All we're going to do is pretty much clean that edge up and get it back in service. Now, I can feel those burrs in, or those impactions, I can feel them in the first couple of strokes on top of the stone. There'll be little rough spots. Now you can see how high that I'm keeping that spine off of that stone, and that's to maintain more or less the factory angle. Okay, so now we're going to start, well, let's see how we're doing first. Can you see? Okay. So you can see that I'm holding pretty dang good, except for even at that really high angle that I was holding, that is not near as steep as what the factory edge was. Because if it was, I'd be grinding all the way to the edge, and you can still see that magic marker right along the very edge. Okay? So we either need to keep that angle that I was using, or steepen it up some, which seems crazy because, I mean, I was at, okay, so that is flat with the flats, the side of the tang, right? That is with the blade bevel, the grinding, that the factory did to turn flat stock into a wedge to make it a knife. That is the edge that I was sharpening it at, which is, I mean, that's a pretty frickin' high angle. I mean, that's like 30 degrees or something, right? I don't even hardly sharpen axes that thick. So we'll kind of maintain that one, I guess. You guys hear that small crowing out there? That's one of my wife's silky roosters. He's practicing. He's pretty young, and honestly, he's not so good at crowing yet. But he'll get there. We did have two of them, but we gave one of them away last night to somebody that didn't have any roosters at all. And so now this one right here, he's in hog heaven because he's got, see you, boy. He's got 11 hens all to himself. Because so far he's not real mean. That other rooster, you guys have seen him in other videos, Mr. Soup. He's kind of a jerk. He'll walk up to a hen and just beat the crap out of her for no reason at all. Well, that I can see anyway. Okay, so now we're lightening up our pressure a little bit. We got to turn our camera back on. Okay, now what we're seeing here, see, we still, I mean, as steep as we were going, we've still got some of that color in there. Oh. But we've knocked off the sides of our of our impactions, okay, so that they look a whole lot better now. See how they're not on either side? They're just inside the edge. What that'll do is it'll kind of make it like a serrated edge. And you can see that our flats up here are much, much, much less. Even with it being blurry. Let's see if I can't. See there? See how we are to an edge? I mean, you've got the flats that are inside the divots, but right here we're at a not such a bad edge for this type of use. So honestly, I believe I'm going to call this edge good. I mean, I don't really feel much of a burr. We can go ahead and cut through this soft wood. to kind of knock off any burr, and then maybe backstroke the edge a couple of times to clean that up. But for what this knife is what I'm going to use this knife for, that is an entirely acceptable edge. I mean, it really is. You know, just to show you, if you can't see there, we will grab just a piece of copy paper. And see, it's ripping slash cutting it. Ripping slash cutting it. But I guarantee you this will scrape gaskets with the best of them, right? A piece of rope, let's see, or a piece of leather. Here's a piece of leather. You know, I mean, it cuts that okay. You know, for this class of knife, we are going to call that good. Let's see, how far are we on? We're at 16 minutes. Okay. All right, so like I said, with this particular multi-tool and the tasks that I want this knife to be doing, that is an entirely a serviceable edge. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and leave it at that. You know, and that way we get to use the rest of that steel up, scraping gaskets, you know, doing whatever it is that we're doing, you know, until we go ahead and resharpen the whole thing. So the next video, I'm going to turn you off and turn you back on again. We are going to go ahead and take a look at the serrated blade on this Gerber multiplier. So again, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can visit me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we will see you next time.